Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you a Diablo 3 patch 2.3 wizard build. This build is currently performing very well on the 2.3 PTR, but do check back in the future when 2.3 goes live to see if we have a better build. Now, normally we take a look at the skills first, but this time we're going to take a look at the gear, because this build is heavily gear dependent. I recommend that before you're able to complete the Tal Rasha set, you run with a beginner wizard build, because this skill setup that we will go through is only effective with these sets. So this build makes use of 3 sets. The first being Tal Rasha's, the second being Delsere's, and the third being Focus and Restraint, which simply add more damage to the build. Now, because this is a 2.3 guide, we're also going to go over what item powers you want to use in Kanai's cube. So first off, it doesn't really matter how you get it, but you need the 6-piece Tal Rasha set bonus and the 4-piece Delsere set bonus. If you also want Focus and Restraint, that means you have to work in a Ring of Royal Grandeur. And I do this by slotting it into Kanai's cube. 2 other important legendary items for this build are the Nilfr's Boast Boots, aka the Meteor Boots, which bump up your meteor damage tremendously, and the Crown of the Primus Helm, which gives slow time the effect of every rune. You will only be able to equip one of these 2. The other you have to equip in your Kanai's cube armor slot. Your main hand weapon is not critical to the build, just go with the best weapon you have available, and then ideally you want to put a furnace into your Kanai's cube weapon slot. This will really help you against elites and rift guardians. Lastly, strong arm bracers round out this build nicely, but they're not mandatory. You can also go with ancient Parthian defenders if you want to go for toughness over damage. So what does Tal Rasha set do? It causes a meteor to drop anytime you deal elemental damage. Each damage type will call down a meteor of that same element, and the same element can't trigger more than once every 8 seconds. The set also gives you a damage buff every time you attack with a different element. So a big part of this build is finding a skill rotation that allows you to build up your damage stacks, call down your meteors, and then maximize the damage of your final meteor. Meanwhile, Delsere's 4 set makes enemies take 2000% damage every second while in a slow time field. And the 2 set bonus is going to have us casting Magic Missile a lot, just to quickly reset the cooldown on slow time. With this build, you're able to cover the battlefield in slow time effects. And one amazing perk of this is that the slow time field will freeze projectiles, bringing them just about to a standstill. So through slow time, this build is able to gain a lot of survivability, because you can easily avoid just about any incoming projectile. As for what stats you want on your gear pieces, this build doesn't really need cooldown, because we're going to be spamming Magic Missile to reset the cooldown on slow time, so you can pop an Amethyst in your helm for extra survivability. You want to get meteor damage wherever you can, because that will still be our main damage dealer, and apart from that, standard gearing rules apply. Now, as for your legendary gems, you're going to want Bane of the Trapped, Zay's Stone of Vengeance, and the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard for survivability. Alright, now let's take a look at the skills. First off, we have Magic Missile, Glacial Spike. This is our cold skill. Again, we need to be hitting with every single element, and Magic Missile serves 3 purposes here. First off, it procs our Focus and Restraint, because you need 1 Generator and 1 Spender to get those bonuses, and it deals the cold damage to call down the cold meteor and give us a cold damage stack. Next, for fire, we're using Meteor Shower. For arcane damage, we're actually going to use Teleport Calamity. This skill is on an 11-second cooldown, but basically anytime you take damage, the cooldown will be reset thanks to the Illusionist passive, which we'll get to shortly. Next, we're using Magic Weapon, Force Weapon. This gives us a straight damage buff. Energy Armor, Force Armor. This gives us more toughness and gives a bit more control to those big damage spikes. And then lastly, we have Slow Time, which will be gaining the effect of every single rune. As for our passives, again, Illusionist resets the cooldown on Slow Time and Teleport anytime you take more than 15% of your damage in a single hit, which at high grift levels will be basically any hit, and it gives you a speed buff for 3 seconds after casting Teleport and Slow Time. Next, we have Unstable Anomaly. Blizzard finally buffed this skill, so it's a lot more useful now, and this will be your lifesaver in those high grift levels. Next, we have Elemental Exposure. This combines really well with that Tal Rasha stack mechanism. And then lastly, Evocation reduces our cooldowns by 20%. So the cooldown of Teleport is 11 seconds, with Evocation that's brought down to 8.8 seconds, and a Tal Rasha Arcane Meteor can be called down every 8 seconds, so that allows you to almost constantly be bringing down arcane meteors. But if you can get a total cooldown reduction of at least 27.5, then that's enough to bring the cooldown on teleport to 8 seconds exactly. Now, to properly play this build, which you're not really seeing me do, you want to be thinking about your skill rotation. This is something that'll come with practice. I didn't have much time with my wizard on the public test realm, so I didn't get to practice him quite enough to work out a skill rotation. But as you can see, even on my first run in a 45 grift, just blindly spamming my various skills, I'm still able to cakewalk through the rift. And this is the equivalent of T10. Now, one thing you might be wondering, hey, wait a minute, where's your lightning damage coming from? Well, that's actually coming from slow time. It turns out that slow time will apply an elemental damage type corresponding to whatever you have stacked as your highest plus elemental damage. That means on your bracers, you want to have plus lightning damage. So stack lightning as your elemental damage, and slow time will become your lightning spell. Now, there could be some wiggle room with this. Let's say you have some really good fire gear, which you probably would have if you were an early 2.2 wizard. Then instead of a fire meteor, you can just swap out for a big lightning spell. And then slow time will be doing fire damage if fire is your highest element. Basically, this meteor spell right here is the most negotiable skill in this setup. So a sample skill rotation here will be to start by popping slow time. This will proc your lightning, as well as slow enemies, thus enabling you to take advantage of your Bane of the Trapped right away. The extra damage that Bane of the Trapped will deal to slowed enemies. Then you can shoot off a magic missile. This will trigger your cold stack. Then teleport in. This will trigger your arcane stack. Then as you're moving back, drop meteor for the final big hit. Now, I suspect that as the PTR goes on, some different skill setups may be discovered here that might be more optimal, but this skill setup is definitely capable of high 50 grifts, even into the low 60s, and I suspect that the gear setup likely won't be changing all that much. That said, do check back in the future for any potential updates to this build, and remember, while we're still in the PTR, everything is still subject to change. That wraps up this guide. Thanks for watching. Check out these other videos. And if you enjoyed this one, share it with friends, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhyker's Raiders.
The Rift Guardian is here.